Coming up next on Arizona Horizon, Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton joins us for his monthly discussion on city issues, and we'll hear about ways to become more financially literate. Those stories next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon. I'm Ted Simons. Air traffic noise from Sky Harbor is still a major issue with many Phoenix residents. Here to talk about that and more is Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton. Good to see you again.
Ted, great to be here, as always.
All right, let's get right to it. Are you going to sue the FAA over this aircraft noise?
Well, there's a high likelihood we are headed in that direction. It's been a very, very disappointing set of circumstances. First, of course, the FAA did implement this new departure procedure out of Sky Harbor westbound that put these planes right over people's head in central Phoenix at a very low altitudes. It's really disrupted the quality of life for people in our neighborhoods. By the way, both north of Washington and south of Washington as well in the Laveen area. So both many of the historic neighborhoods as well as the Laveen area. In good faith, we were offered the opportunity to join a working group as the FAA tried to find out alternative routes that would have had less impact on the quality of life. We did actively participate. Congressman Ed Pastor volunteered his time to represent the people of Phoenix on that working group. And despite our best efforts, the FAA did not, in my opinion, in good faith, really take into account the concerns of Phoenix and the neighborhoods of Phoenix. And so we decided not to continue down the path that was obviously not heading towards a positive resolution. We've had some additional exchanges of letters back and forth, and unfortunately we're going to have to look for a different venue to work out our disagreement, and it looks like a court of law is the high likelihood now about how we're going to resolve this dispute.
What remedy would the city be suing for?
Well, first off, we believe that the FAA did not follow the required procedures before implementing the new departure procedure. They were allowed what's called a categorical exclusion, but it was based, which means is that they didn't have to go through any public meetings. So this was done without any public input as would normally require. The only way to get a categorical exclusion is if the FAA were to assert that there would be little or no impact on neighborhoods around Sky Harbor. Obviously that's not true. Also, they had to represent that it would have little or no impact on historic neighborhoods through the State Historic Preservation Office. So they made that representation. Obviously that was not an accurate representation. So we believe that there were strong legal arguments that they didn't follow the proper procedures. We provided a remedy. I know this next gen procedure, which is going on around the country, which is the departure procedure at Sky Harbor is a part of next gen. The next gen procedures around the country should follow, we believe, a public process. They want to go to satellite-based guidance for the planes as opposed to ground-based. You can go back to the old location for the turns using satellite technology. So we can accommodate the FAA and their needs, but do so in a way that wouldn't have the dramatic negative impact on Phoenix neighborhoods. So this is not heading in a good spot, but that's my job as mayor, is to stand up for the people of Phoenix.
Did the FAA propose slower speeds and a higher climb rate? And if so, what's wrong with that?
That would not have, so yes, that is one option that they have provided. We looked at that and said, you know, as long as you're turning at the current location, that's not a reasonable option in terms of reducing the impact on those neighborhoods. We appreciate the fact that the FAA was willing to at least provide some options. Look, the FAA is a large, mega bureaucracy. I try not to demonize the FAA. Those are professionals trying to do their job. But in this case, mistakes were made that led to this significant negative impact on Phoenix neighborhoods, and therefore action needs to be taken by the city of Phoenix.
Can you work with individual airlines, maybe on a voluntary basis?
As well we should. Look, we're looking at a range of options to solve this dispute. Using a court of law as one venue to resolve that dispute is just one option among many. Of course, we have and will be talking to the leadership of the major airlines flying in and out of Sky Harbor. Of course, we're going to be working with our congressional delegation and congressional delegations around the country of similarly situated neighborhoods to form a coalition. Ruben Gallego, our congressman representing both Laveen and the historic neighborhoods, has helped to form a Quiet Skies coalition caucus, if you will, among Congress members. And so this needs to be discussed as part of the FAA reappropriation process, reauthorization process. As they go through their congressional approval process, of course, members of Congress should ask very difficult questions about whether or not they did involve the community before they made this very important decision. So this is part of a multifaceted strategy, but litigation at this point needs to be significantly looked at as part of that strategy.
Last question on this. The entire council on board with litigation?
Well, I don't want to say what goes on behind closed doors relative to executive session. That privilege, attorney-client privilege, is held by all of the council members. So I'll let each council member speak for him or herself on this issue. I do know I work very closely with the council members of the districts most affected, Councilwoman Laura Pastor, Councilman Michael Nowakowski, and I would just say that the strategy, the multifaceted strategy that I just described, including getting testimony on what's called the Metroplex process, which is a much larger look at the entire United States and the departure and arrival procedures at various airports, making sure that Phoenix's interests are protected on that. I'm working very closely with those city council members, and I have a high level of confidence that we are representing the will of the people of Phoenix.
All right, a municipal ID card. What's that all about?
Well, there was a group that came to the city and said that, hey, you are very inefficient in the number of cards that you authorize. If you were a citizen of the city of Phoenix, an active citizen, you may have to get a separate card to check out books from the library, go to the senior center, go to the youth center, utilize public transportation. Look at this. I brought things for the viewers to look at. This is the number of cards that a citizen of Phoenix could have to utilize in order to fully participate in our system. Obviously, that's too many. So a group of citizens came to us and said, you ought to look at being much more efficient. Mayor, you talk about efficiency in government. Well, here's another way where you can look at that. So we did authorize our city staff what's called the 8-hour rule to go beyond 8 hours of research and analysis about ways that we can consolidate into a single card. I know there's been some controversy associated with it because some people said, well, wait a minute, aren't you really trying to violate federal immigration law if private sector entities were to utilize that card as a form of identification? Let me tell you what this card is not. It's not federal ID. It doesn't give any person in the city of Phoenix any legal status that they wouldn't have under federal law. It can't be used as state ID because state law actually bans that activity. One of the things that will be researched is whether or not a private bank might use this card to allow a person here in Phoenix to open up a bank account. Could it be used by domestic violence shelter as someone checking into a domestic violence shelter as a form of ID? Obviously, we're not going to violate state or federal law. We can't and we shouldn't do so. But should we research options for people? That's exactly what we authorize the staff to do. And by the way, my position is it needs to be done in a cost-neutral way. This should not add cost to the city of Phoenix. When you build efficiencies into government, it shouldn't actually add cost. And that's one of the criteria that I want to point out I'm certainly in favor of.
There are some, though, that say that it's a nice plan for a city service car, but it's gotten hijacked by those who do want it as some form of identification. Will photographs be allowed? What kind of documentation, what kind of information will be on those cards?
Well, that's exactly what we are researching. But I want to assure anybody some people are trying to hijack this to make it something that it is completely not about. This is not about changing federal immigration law. It's not about changing state law. I know people want to utilize this discussion about whether we can create efficiencies by having a municipal services card to deal with kind of fights that they wanted to have for years over immigration law. This is not the proper forum to do that. This will not change anyone's legal status. It cannot be used as a federal ID card. It can't be used as a state ID card. Will some private entities want to use this card for their purposes? We don't know. We're going to research that and see. And when I'm talking about private banks that may want to utilize it so that individuals can open a bank account, which we want to encourage. Could it be used by nonprofits for their services? Could it be used by Local First Arizona to give discount to residents?
Could it be an alternate photo ID?
Well, it won't be any kind of alternate form of ID that would be in violation of federal law or of state law. But the point of what we did the other night was simply to authorize our professional city staff to come back to the council and the community with information on options. And so this is going to, I don't know if we're going to end up moving forward with this or not. I don't know if we can meet my requirement that it be cost neutral. But should we shut it down before we even have the opportunity to gather information and provide important information to the mayor and council? Well, I certainly said, no, we should provide that information to myself, to members of the council, to the community, so that if we decide to move forward with any kind of efficiencies in a municipal services card, that we do so with full information.
Is the city going to sell the Sheraton?
Well, I sure hope so. We have, as you know, we are refinancing debt on the Sheraton downtown. Starting January 1st, 2016, we can sell that hotel without penalty under the original bond covenants that were made in order to construct that hotel. And yes, it's important that the city did the right thing by having that hotel built. It's been a huge asset for the city as we continue to increase convention business, as we chase after the highest profile events like the Super Bowl, like the College Football Championship, which is coming to our city next year, major either political conventions or NALEO and other great conventions that we have been aggressively chasing after. You need the hotel room space in downtown. It's been a very good investment. Ultimately, the city doesn't want to be long-term in the hotel business, so selling that hotel makes a lot of sense for the city.
Some would say it hasn't been a very good investment, to the tune of $330 million still owed, and the value could be somewhere around $200 million, something like that. That means big losses to the city. And not only that, but it's hurting this effort to keep the Suns downtown. And that's the reason you want to sell that thing, is to keep the Suns downtown and get that albatross off the neck.
The reason why the city should sell the hotel, and we should only sell it if it makes good business sense for the city of Phoenix, is because ultimately, long term, the plan was always for the city to build the hotel and to get it started as a huge infrastructure asset for the people of the city of Phoenix. But the intent was always to sell it to the private sector. We made this initial investment. We built this infrastructure. It's been incredibly important infrastructure so that we can succeed in the visitor business, the hotel, and the convention business, which we have to. As a city of Phoenix, we need to be a leader in the convention business. Obviously, we're going to make a smart business decision at the time we want to sell this hotel, and that business decision is being made for the good of the people of Phoenix. And frankly, what happens with the Suns, the Mercury, the other professional teams, the awesome Rattlers, by the way, the world champion Rattlers that play at soon-to-be Talking Stick Arena. We'll be obviously in conversations with them. We're going to have good conversations with them, positive conversations with them. But selling the hotel is a good business decision for the city of Phoenix at this time, unrelated to those other sporting
those
teams.
Conversations will be a lot better if you don't have to worry about $30-some-odd million losing on the hotel when you can pump some of that money into keeping the Suns downtown, correct?
Well, look, the city of Phoenix owns the current facility for the U.S. Airways soon-to-be Talking Stick Arena for the Phoenix Suns, Mercury, Rattlers, and all the great concerts that happen down there. By the way, we keep talking about the Suns. It's incredibly important to note that the number of activities that occur downtown as a result of having that arena in the heart of the city. It's awesome. It's not just the Suns, although I wish the Suns well. I'm a huge fan. But I'm also a huge fan of the Mercury, Rattlers, and I love the fact that the team has operated that arena in a way that we are competitive for the best concerts when they come to town. You check it out, how many of those concerts ended up coming up to downtown Phoenix as opposed to other venues. So having a venue of that importance and magnitude in the heart of the city is very, very important. I don't want to in any way reveal conversations that have occurred. It would be inappropriate to do so up to this point, other than to say that I am committed to having a facility of the highest magnitude that can host those events in the heart of our city. I know the team is committed to do so. We're going to have very positive conversations. The selling of the hotel, I know some people have tried to relate the two. The selling of the hotel makes business sense for the city of Phoenix. It's the right thing to do, and I certainly support doing so, but that's unrelated to the sporting teams.
So it's unrelated. Even though you're going to get somebody, you're going to save the losses that you could put over to the other side.
Well, but any time that the city is able to sell an asset that belongs in the private sector, it's good for the city and good for lots of priorities of the city of Phoenix. But I think that some people have tried to directly relate the sale of the hotel simply because we can do something for the sporting team. That's not true. The decision to sell the hotel needs to and must stand on its own merits, and that's exactly how I analyze it as Mayor of Phoenix.
Last point on the Sheraton, last question for you. Was it wise? There are those who say it was not wise for the city to get into the hotel business. Lost a lot of money. You're going to lose a lot of money once you get this thing sold. If the market wanted a hotel downtown, there'd be a hotel like that downtown. You respond.
Yeah, I think it was an important infrastructure investment for the city of Phoenix. It has allowed us, you talk about so much of the activity that is happening in the heart of the city. Open Up the Republic just yesterday about how much of the development activity is happening in the heart of the city. Making the city of Phoenix a place where we can compete for the best conventions from around the country, allow us to compete for events of the highest magnitude, including the Super Bowl and other major sporting events. It can only be done if you have the right infrastructure in your downtown. That includes convention center, that includes light rail, that includes amenities such as restaurants and sporting locations like U.S. Airways Arena, soon to be Talking Stick, and you have to have the right kind of hotel rooms. That's good infrastructure investment for the city, and yes, I think it was a good investment.
All right, good to see you. Good
Thank
to
you
have
so
you
much.
back. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
April is National Financial Literacy Month, and here now to talk about ways to become more financially literate is Jerry Gutman of Gutman Financial Group and president of the local chapter of SOFA, the Society of Financial Awareness. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for letting me do.
Financial literacy, what does that mean?
Well, in 2004, President Bush put something in place every year. In the month of April, we have the ability to try to reach out, help people more often, and it's a particular time. I think that financial literacy has been an issue for years, but people don't learn enough, don't know where to turn. The same person that's retiring after 30 years of a company isn't trained what to do with Social Security, where to go, debt, first-time home buyers. There's very limited training.
I was going to say, what are folks most illiterate about?
Well, think about this. You buy a car and you walk into a dealership and they help you. And you buy a payment. Besides that, then you might own a home. You have a retirement plan. Your retirement plan is something you need to be involved with. You need to understand the differences. You have to understand what a mutual fund is, how it works, what it's going to be. It might be the largest investment you ever have in your life. And the training is limited. The education is very limited for people, and it's sad, quite frankly. Some of my largest institutions I work with, I help them teach their staff to teach the employees what the difference, how mutual funds work, how does it affect them.
The housing crisis, was that a lesson learned for many?
It started forever ago, and it'll continue. Today, you can still buy a house with almost nothing down. I don't know that it's unfortunate, but if you walk in, they have some programs through the federal government for 3%, and that's wonderful. But people, if you sign that document, do what you need to do. Everybody got hurt. Everybody got hurt. I feel bad for the small business owner. I feel bad for the small employee that goes to work, works 2 jobs, works 3 jobs. They want to put bread on their table, and they're having challenges because they're not taught.
And who teaches them? Who teaches the first-time home buyer? Who teaches the first-time landlord that wants to get into maybe buying some property and renting it out? Who's there to instruct?
Unfortunately, nobody in many cases. You want to go into a house, you go to a model, and there's somebody that's there that's going to sell you that model. And years ago, you could buy a house and it would be 4 and 5 times what you were supposed to buy because that's what the banks said. And the banks don't care. You're a number to a bank. You're an underwriting decision to a bank. But I always say that as parents, we should teach our children. But in many cases, when I do a presentation, I do seminars regularly. And I always ask for people to put their hands up and say, and tell me, how many of your parents taught you how to be financially, fiscally responsible? And 1 out of 30, 1 out of 50 will put their hands up. And it's sad because people don't know where to turn.
So let's talk about retirement now, because I know that's big. You mentioned it big. Social Security is big. Most common mistakes that you see from those entering retirement years?
Taking money at age 62.
Interesting.
If you lose your job and you don't have the financial wherewithal, when Social Security came out in August of 1935, so it's 80 years old this August, it was designed for people in poverty. It was designed to give people income at age 65. They've redesigned it, they've reworked it many times as they normally do, but you're giving up the biggest part of the growth of Social Security. If you don't take it at 62 and you wait till 70, you're going to get almost an 80% growth in your money, in the income that you're going to get. People don't go to Social Security offices and sit with the folks there. And if you take, and husband and wife, they both take their Social Security at age 65, and one of them suspends, the husband, for example, suspends, he'll have a bucket of money that he could take any time before he's 70. There's so many choices out there that people don't know.
Small business owners, common fiscal mistakes that they make.
Don't spend enough time teaching. SOFA, I've been with SOFA now I've been teaching and doing seminars for 25 years. I'll come into any company, a church, an organization, and I'll do seminars for free. I do lunch and learns, and I'll teach people the fiscal responsibilities and the basics. We call it financial, there's financial blunders and financial fitness. It's the basics on, for example, I tell people to cut up their debit cards all the time because they don't balance. Cut up a debit card because it's a convenience to buying something. But you never balance your debit card and what you spend. I tell people, put it in a drawer for 30 days. Don't spend it for 30 days and see how much better or how much money you have in the bank that you wouldn't have spent. And I will always get people to call me and say, oh my God, it's remarkable how much money I saved.
But it seems like folks, let's say folks, they're buying a house, or they're buying rental property, or they're a small business owner. All these people that we've talked about, they have to know a little bit before they get into this, don't they? And they can't be completely illiterate.
Many of them are. Forgive me, Ted, whether you own a house or not, did you ever read your mortgage, your note?
I did once when I had to sign all those papers.
Most people don't know what they're signing, but they sign it. They do, just because they figure that the professional that's helping them from the title company is giving them the right direction. They trust. I'm not suggesting that people at title companies are not, that they're doing anything wrong, but they assume that everything's okay. Leasing a car is the worst way to buy a car. But the auto companies aren't going to tell you that.
Right. Well, you're renting a car, basically.
You're renting a car, right. And then you give it to them, and you have no equity. We need to go back and live with less. Ted Turner said years ago in an interview, how did you get to where you are now? Understanding that his family owned the business before him, he said, I did with less when I was younger. We should all do with less.
That question, we're running out of time here, but are millennials, younger folks, are they a little more literate than maybe the boomers were back then?
They are.
So they're understanding, they're kind of getting this better than the boomers did.
They do, but many boomers are getting better. Unfortunately, as I used to, when I first got in the business, I used to go to people's homes at nighttime. There's nobody that's doing that anymore.
Yeah.
People are buying products through their car insurance companies. These aren't investment people. They're not, I'm not knocking them, but they're not investment people. They do car insurance. Find a financial planner that'll sit with you and help you understand the choices. I do that all the time with people. And I do financial plans for free. Somebody comes to me, I'll teach them. That's what I get pleasure in doing that.
And the Society for Financial Awareness is a place to go for folks who maybe are listening right now saying, I think I'm illiterate.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
if you go online, you can go to sofausa.org or gutmanfinancial.com and call me. It's my pleasure to help.
All right, it's good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me.
Tuesday on Arizona Horizon, we will look at a pivotal U.S. Supreme Court ruling that could make same-sex marriage the law of the land, and we'll find out about a new Phoenix project to help start businesses that make products from waste. That's at 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.